slideshow. All right, good. Yeah, I posted something yesterday. It's the silent killer. That's what EMF is. So it's subluxation, right? You guys know that. In fact, subluxation was a silent killer long before EMF was. Okay, I got to motor through this stuff now because I got a lot of stuff to cover. I deleted a bunch of slides because a lot of it's not even as relevant as it used to be. All right, so a lot of this comes. How many people have read these books? I try to get you guys to read more. You read both of them, huh, Len?
I haven't read all of the Rainbow, but
Yeah, it was a little more chewy.
I did read Mercola. That book is dynamite.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
and that's
I
where a lot of this
recommend
comes from. He's a good friend of mine. He's kind of a, I won't say on the end, he's a little diva though. Okay, next. All right, so we have evolved. Well, or created, I don't know which side of the fence you're on. I kind of think God created us to evolve. How does that sound? Could you say that without getting into too much trouble from people? I don't know. All right, so there's a frequency the planet has. That's what the beamer does. The beamer really kind of. So we're supposed to have that little vibration in the Schumann frequency, which is 7.83 hertz. Doesn't say it right there, does it? What is it? Say, wait, it's above yeah, it's up the top. So 7.83 hertz. I'm good with numbers, just not names. Except for your names, everybody. I know everybody's names. So that's what keeps us healthy, and I know a reason a lot of people have issues with circulation, a lot of things in your health that we probably can't even perceive as the finite beings that we are, that vibrational disconnect that we have is why so many of us are sick. So it's important for us to go out and do what? Ground ourselves, like running in the sand or surfing or hugging a tree or laying on a rock. Any of that stuff would be good, okay? But then there's also frequencies that we have created as a species of the human race, which is what we are, right? So it started with the electrical era when we started stringing up all these electrical lines, and Doug's going to hit on this a little bit tonight too. And then what we did is when we created these pandemics with people getting sick from these electrical frequencies or RF or EMF, then we always blamed it on something else, and we usually blamed it on an invisible virus or bacteria. So that caused the deadly flu pandemic of 1889, and then the Spanish flu, which you guys all knew about that, it killed what, 50 million people? That was from radio waves. You wouldn't think something like radio waves wouldn't be so devastating to us, but they are, huh?
It's amazing.
It is amazing. Have you ever noticed, though, if you drive under those like little areas, or like wires in your radio will go out, especially AM radio, which I like to listen to talk radio. I've been listening to a lot of these podcasts on my way. I've been doing a lot of driving lately, to be honest. So, in fact, I'm going again this weekend. If anybody wants to go. Okay. The radar waves were also the Asian influence pandemic, whatever that's about. And then what was the one that caused the flu during the Woodstock? What was
Hong Kong.
The Hong Kong flu. He knows his stuff. Okay. And then 1967, it was U.S. launches 28 satellites in the Van Allen radiation belts. So all these kind of electrical frequencies and magnetic frequencies, your microwaves, your telephone, all that stuff, your bioweapons is what they are. It's going to cause all these. So how many people still have microwaves in their house? I'm not going to ask. Okay. That's kind of the most. I don't know why you would even own one, but that's just me. I'd rather eat my food cold than eat it like chemically distorted into carcinogens, right? Right, Eagle Eye?
Yes, sir.
All right, how many people have read that book? That is the chewiest book I've ever read. She's kind of a crazy lady. I did a podcast with her. In fact, I just realized we have our podcast, or where?
What?
Where our podcast out?
Where?
Spotify?
Oh, Spotify, Apple, and Vimeo, I think we have some.
Yeah, I don't know. See how many we have on there. I've done podcasts with thousands of people. Maybe hundreds, but thousands. Everybody from David Icke to Alex Jones to you name it. Joe Mercola to Josh Axe, etc., etc. All right, and I used to go over this before. I don't know if you guys remember this guy.
Yeah.
He was the one that was theorizing that these. No, he wasn't theorizing. I theorized it from what he said, that these people were dying from like what looked like elevation sickness. So they were basically hypoxic, meaning they didn't have enough oxygen because of the thinner air. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about? Like they were at 30. They just went immediately to 30,000 feet. Their body didn't get a chance to acclimate. And what I hypothetically thought, was that the fact that these people were being bombarded with what? 5G, which was causing problems with disrupting the red blood cells' capacity to load oxygen. Again, there's a lot of theories. That's one of them. And then it was also the theory about the king cobra venom, and maybe it was a gain of function bacteria or virus, excuse me. So who knows? Thing is that I didn't get sick. How many
Could
people?
be all the above.
It could be all the above. It probably is all the above. Good point. But that's, I mean, I didn't get. There's anybody else that didn't get sick with the COVID? You guys, none of us got sick? No.
Wow.
I think part of that's because we live a different lifestyle than the average. It's just funny to me that people still kind of live that medical lifestyle. Can I tell you just a quick story about a patient real quick? I'm going to change the names to protect the guilty, okay? Let's say that he was a he, and he brought his son in that was having asthma, and, they'd been to the doctor many times for antibiotics for the respiratory problems or whatever, and they got the inhalers, and none of that was working. Actually, let me kill the story the way it's supposed to be. I'm trying to protect people. The kid had ear infections, okay? And then he'd been on all these antibiotics, they didn't work. Then they put tubes in his ears, and they want to put the second set of tubes in his ears. And the dad wanted to know if he should do the tubes again. And I go, well, why don't you let me adjust him a little bit? And if this doesn't, it always works, okay? It always works. When it doesn't, question its application, but don't question the principle. So I knew why they weren't, and I said you need to be here 3 days a week for 6 weeks, okay, for the kid. And he was very sporadic with the adjustments. They would come in like once every 10 days, and then finally she was getting frustrated with me, and I go, don't get frustrated with me. I told you what you needed to do, and you're not doing it. And I know the reason you're not coming in is because of what? The cashola. So I said, okay, let's forget about the money. Just bring the kid in for me. We're going to adjust the kid. And then 2 weeks, coming 3 times a week, the kid's like miraculously better, and she's ecstatic. But the same thing is, the kid, she also had a son that was coming in here, and I would look at the kid, and the kid just didn't look, he looked pasty, gray, you know what I'm talking about? Not healthy, big circles under his eyes. And one day he came in and looked like the living dead. And I said, you need to get him adjusted too. He doesn't look good. She goes, oh, he's fine. And then that night, he ended up in the hospital at St. Joseph's. And then she wanted to know how I knew he was. You can see it. You can see, like when you see vaccinated kids versus unvaccinated kids, there's a completely different look and vibration to these kids. And then what happens is the vaccinated kids end up on all the antibiotics, which destroys their microbiome and all that stuff. So I don't know why I got on that tangent.
By the way, do you know what happened
This
to
is
him?
Dr. Cameron Kyle said.
What?
Do you know whatever happened to that doctor?
This guy? No,
Yeah.
what happened?
I don't know, I'm asking because, people like that would vanish.
But he didn't say anything derogatory.
He said, wow.
He just said these people were coming in with, and it was New York, and I figured, well, shit, they got all those high-rise apartments where people got probably a Wi-Fi, what are those, router, right? It's called a router. They got routers in probably every room on the floor, and these people are just getting, that's one thing I freak out when I'm in hotels and stuff.
Basically what he said, that it is the therapy of putting people on ventilators. And now it's proven that killed probably 90% of people.
Yeah,
who were put on the
94%.
ventilators.
Yeah. Well, that's why they would put them on ventilators, because they were definitely having respiratory issues. So this was kind of the whole 5G rollout started in New York, which is where that guy was, and then 5G was in, where's San Marino, first county to install 5G, highest levels of illness. Okay, so then Wuhan had them in 2019. So this kind of supported the theory that maybe the 5G was causing it. Again, I've kind of changed my mind a little bit on that. 5G technology is being called the unified connectivity for the 15-minute cities that we talked about at the Health Freedom event. It's estimated that 5G will support at least 100 billion devices in the very near future. In the most saturated and urban areas, they are planning to support up to 1 million devices per square kilometer. Like, do you really need something? I mean, what is it that has to be connected to that? I know they talk about your fridge, right? What else would you connect to it?
6 billion people.
What?
People?
People?
That's 6
Okay,
billion
that makes
people.
sense. Mass surveillance. Okay.
Oh.
Scientists usually divide electromagnetic spectrum into ionizing. That's going to be your X-rays, right? Atomic radiation and non-ionizing. Ionizing radiation causes cancer. A known link of iodine and ionizing radiation, nuclear exposure. Non-ionizing radiation, which includes microwave radiation, EMF, and RF, is supposed to be safe. More and more research is confirming that. I never thought it was safe. Did you guys think it was safe? Anything that's not part of what we're designed to live in is going to cause some type of abnormal frequencies. Exposure to microwave radiation from baby monitors, cell phones, cordless phones, Wi-Fi routers, smart meters, and other wireless devices causes serious mitochondrial dysfunction. And what kind of issues would you have if you have mitochondrial dysfunction? Energy. Right. So there's a lot of people, like somebody today that I have new patients who's got major energy issues. So there's other factors too, right? Living in a area with decreased oxygen as far as the air is concerned, right? It used to be 36%, now in most areas it's 21%. In some cities like LA, it's probably 11%. So you're going to not be able to generate as much. That's why I bought the hyperbaric for me, okay? How many people go through those scanners at the airport? Anybody go through those? Do you guys enjoy the massage at the airport?
Not in a while.
I do. I have a good time with it. Can I go through again? All right. So yeah, you don't want to toast your gonads. Let's see if I can gonads. Okay. 4G and 5G is now going on into schools everywhere. 24/7 Wi-Fi and emergency call signal. Schools are adding revenue by putting 5G towers on schools. Yeah. So if you see those, like, does anybody have those in their neighborhood?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have one right by my house. Hunt dog.
Yeah, I got a picture of it in my slide presentation.
Yeah, well, that's why we had to do some major mitigation efforts at my house. And are you going to go over any of my stats, pre and post stuff?
Shoot, yeah, I don't have
That
it,
would be
and then
good
we
for
can talk
people
about
to
it.
see the pre and post difference in my exposure. It's more dangerous than a terror group because this one kills you without you knowing you're being murdered. So churches, convalescent homes too, right? And hospitals.
High schools, fire department.
Yep. Now you talked about this today, and you had a slide on it. So obviously that radiation affects liquids, right? So the sweat ducts within human skin varies from 2 million to 4 million. We need to know if 5G increases the risk of skin diseases such as melanoma or other skin cancers. So yeah, we can think it's from the sun. I got to bring back the old sun workshop too, because everybody thinks the sun causes. My lip is toast right now. I don't know if it's the wind or if it's from the sun from Mammoth.
That'd be a good one.
What, the sun one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did it. About how they used to use the sun to heal people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it is healing. It's a vitamin D, right? That's what they're trying to do is with all the geoengineering. Let's call it geoengineering because that sounds more sophisticated than chemtrails. That's what they're doing is they're blocking a lot of the sun, which lowers your frigging vitamin D levels, which lowers your what? Your immunity. Okay?
Bill Gates wants to do it, or he's
Yep.
doing it already.
For years, the U.S., Russian, and Chinese defense agencies have been developing weapons that rely on the capability of this electromagnetic technology to induce unpleasant burning sensations on the skin as a form of crowd control. Active denial, people hit with millimeter waves run away feeling like their body is on fire. 5G is the same wavelength as this disbursement weapon. Okay. And then, there was a lot of work in this. I forgot how much work this PowerPoint was. Mark Steele, a scientist who formerly worked on IEEE Communication Society, maintains that Wi-Fi smart. You guys see these street lights everywhere now too? Those are the ones that screw up the car the most as far as my radio is concerned. So that's disconcerting to me. Many located right outside residents' bedroom windows are causing insomnia, nosebleeds, and stillbirths. Babies are dying in the womb. Steele maintains it's a humanitarian crisis. And then, I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed a very significantly diminished sparrow population.
Yep.
Anybody else notice that? And is that supposedly from, do you know why that is, Doug? What is it? Why are those animals, why are sparrows more susceptible to
I'm
fire?
not sure about the sparrows. I know the bees and stuff.
Oh, I
like
know that too.
Yeah.
We've decimated half the insect population. which was what Zach was talking about at the event, that we're pretty much depopulating the planet of not only people, but also a lot of the species. How about this dude, Dr. Rao, medical director of the renowned, it's not renowned to me, Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland, says that EMFs from wireless networks and cell phones can cause cancer. We all knew that, right? You guys know that. ADD, heart arrhythmias. Like, I was at Mammoth this weekend, and there was a girl that had her phone right here next to her heart. And I said, you know, you probably could find a better place to put that than your heart, because it could cause you to have, you know, heart arrhythmias or even a heart attack. Like, there was a guy, I was speaking in Denver once at an aunt chiropractic event, and he had his phone there, and I said, you shouldn't put that there. You could, you know, induce a heart attack in yourself, right? He goes, it's so funny you say that. I had a mild heart attack last week. I go, it's probably from putting your phone right there. And he was a young guy. Insomnia, Parkinson's, and I'm telling you what, I'm sleeping so much better now that I'm doing that carnivore diet. I don't know if it's a carnivore diet, but whatever
Really?
I'm doing is work. Yes.
Awesome.
I don't know what it is. You know, I don't have all those oxalates and lectins and all that. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just placebo. Parkinson's disease too. I didn't say that, did I? All right. Did you guys hear that? Not Chuck Willis. Who's that guy? That he's 68 years old. He was on the cover.
Chuck Norris.
No, he's Bruce. Is it
Bruce
Bruce?
Willis?
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
has
He's
that
got dementia.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm going to do that. I'm doing the Alzheimer's workshop. She got me some great information I was reading last night on. A lot of it has to do with personality. I was trying to see if my personality fit the personality type. Probably a little bit. EMF exposure affects and may impair the hippocampus or the memory center in the brain. This regulates emotions, behavior, motivation. So they talked about that these people that do get Alzheimer's have major changes in their personality. So emotions, behavior, motivation, and again, they were basically amotivational as they got. And again, who knows? Sure, it's coming from your water, right? From all the fluoride in your water and all the other crap that's in there. Sure, it's probably coming from all the crap, the sugar that you eat, the high fructose. Not that you guys eat that stuff. It's also coming from the lack of what? Love. No, also from lack of what? Exercise. Movement is. So, but if we think that some of these frequencies also may affect the mitochondria in your brain, it can also affect the energy and long-term cognitive issues. Heavy metals. This is why I'm susceptible. I just said this today when I was reading this, because I'm one of those people that if I'm in a room where everybody's got a phone, I just feel like I'm tweaking. You know what I'm talking about? Is that possible, Doug?
Anything's possible.
Because I'm loaded on a lot of metals. Because I grew up in the lead era. Right, Mr. Zippy? Remember the lead era where we used to drive cars with lead? And I used to wash the engine parts with gasoline.
Were you surfing at the mouth of the river jetty?
Oh,
too?
of course I was. And I was eating big chunks of swordfish about that big. Because you had to eat a lot of meat to be big and strong, right? Right, Pistone? I eat a big bunch of meat. All right, so I was super high on lead. I've told you this before. That's why Kurt and I are doing the detox. He's a little further along than me. He's a little more consistent than I am. But I did it today. Trying to get some of the lead out of my brain. I also had mercury in my brain. And I had, what was the aluminum. So that can come from this theory right here that they even talked about on Del Bigtree's show the other day. He used to think I was crazy for talking about it. His eyes are opening up. And then cadmium for batteries. There's tons of arsenic in your water too. At least look at Costa Mesa Newport Beach. Water is horrible with arsenic. First I thought somebody was trying to poison me, but then I figured I was probably like before I got the water filtration at the house. And I'm going to be renting a house if anybody wants to rent a house right over here for good price. It's got water filtration. It's got EMF blocked. It's got a carpeted garage. So, and it will have a sauna in it and also have a cold water immersion tank in it as well. Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'll rent it.
Yeah. I'm sure Charlie will like that. Presence of heavy metals clearly explains why some people are more sensitive to cell phone EMF radiation than others. That's me. Dr. Omara's research shows that more your system is contaminated with heavy metals from silver. Yeah, where's the silver coming from?
The dental work. Oh, the
You
dental.
know, that's lead. It's mercury.
Mercury.
The silver iodide is what they use to seed these clouds with
Yeah.
lately. That's why we're getting pounded right now. That's the theory according to Peggy Hall.
Yep.
Right? I like Peggy Hall. She's just got that, always has that perpetual smile. when she's
Yeah,
talking.
she does.
I actually went to that website.
Eating contaminated fish, and the bigger the fish, like a swordfish, is a big fish, so it accumulates all that toxicity. I have some cod I'm having tonight, so I don't know how toxic cod is. Coal burning plants, dental work. Now, thank God, my mom was a dental hygienist, right? I told you guys that, and she used to give us that fluoride crap that we remember that red stuff that we would eat. Make sure you brushed all the crap off your teeth. But I've never had a filling, thanks to her and her browbeating me to brush my teeth and floss every day. The more your body becomes a virtual antenna that actually concentrates radiation to make it more destructive. Okay, so that's my issue. The presence of microbes also aggravated by EMF, vicious cycle where microbes in your system create more potent mycotoxins can lead to hypersensitivity. Chronic affections are caused and or aggravated by EMF exposure. Then chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and other chronic pain syndromes can develop or worsen. So these microbes are actually becoming more toxic with exposure to EMF. Okay? And then the brain, a number of studies have reported that RF EMF exposure of animal models increases blood-brain barrier permeability, so more stuff gets into the brain that's not supposed to get into the brain. Impairs intracellular calcium homeostasis. We'll see why the nutrition is going to be beneficial. It alters neurotransmitters and increases neuronal loss and damage in brain tissue. Okay. EMF. So did everybody take their zinc today?
Mm-hmm.
I took my zinc today. Did you guys take your selenium today?
Yep.
Did you take your magnesium today? I don't tell you guys to take a lot of stuff. There's just a few things I think you should take. EMF zinc study. Results of the study indicated that exposure to an electromagnetic field caused cellular damage in the lung and liver tissues, and zinc supplementation inhibited the inflicted cellular damage. Another important result of the study that needs emphasis was that the exposure to an EMF field led to significant decrease in zinc levels in lung and liver tissues. So it's good to take pretty much, that's one of the vitamins I take in the morning, and I do all my magnesium before I go to bed so I can chill out. Okay? Unless I'm surfing or snowboarding, then I'll take it before I snowboard so I don't get cramps. Okay, and then we got the heart. Did you guys know that people are now getting cancer in their heart?
No, I haven't heard that.
Well, that's what this says.
Crazy.
The American Heart Association silent on heart cancer and irregular heart rate risk from cell phones or cell towers and wireless rate. These include heart rhythm disturbance, heart tumors, cardiac arrest, as well as red blood cell clumping. Okay, we used to do live cell analysis here. Steve Holmes, when we worked. Do you remember Steve Holmes? You probably don't remember Steve Holmes. We would do live, and you would see people's blood would be all clumped up. And then if you did the beamer, that would unclump it because it vibrates them all loose, right? But we didn't have a beamer back then. Why the silence? AT&T and IBM sit on the American Heart Association CEO Roundtable Advisory Board and have also likely contributed substantial dollar and in-kind donations to the American Heart Association. So they're keeping silent on it. I was reading that book, that COVID-19 and the serial killers by Peter Bregan. I posted about it today. It didn't go anywhere. I wonder why. None of my stuff's going anywhere. I'm being highly censored again. I've been good, though. Haven't you guys thought I've been good? I haven't been saying anything bad. Not too bad. Just sort of bad. Kind of in my own way. But as you read that book and you just realize how these people are literally getting... Like, Fauci was doing research to prove that hydroxychloroquine was bad for you, and what he would do to these patients was he would just megadose them and just basically kill them, and then they go, well, look, it kills people. Well, yeah, you're dosing them at like 100 times the dose you're supposed to take, even though they knew that hydroxy. And then his remdesivir studies were coming out positive. So he changed all the parameters to make it look better, but it's still, these guys are like, they're, why do we allow that to
I
happen?
know. They're freaking evil.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know? And then I had an associate that didn't have a license. I didn't know he didn't have a license. I mean, you assume everybody that's a chiropractor has a license. This was a while ago. Mary, don't give me that smirk. This was a long time ago. But I'm still getting fined for that. And I didn't even break the rules. I have a license. It's my job to... That's just my gripe for today, okay? Yeah, your bioweapon. And I have to admit, I got a cell phone. You guys know that, right? And I got it for one reason, so I could do that stupid freaking Aura ring, right? And then I slowly got sucked in from the Aura ring to, well, maybe when I'm in Mexico, because I got that email when I was in Costa Rica that my flight was canceled. And I'm supposed to be there early, and I got there early anyways. And they weren't going to let me on the plane, but then I gave them $20, and that worked. Those are green Band-Aids in Latin America. That always works. Will it take one Band-Aid, or do you need two? Only one. Yeah. All right. Yeah, don't put those by your nuts or your ovaries, okay? And I told you the story about the girl with it in her pocket here, and I told her she's going to get breast cancer, and then I told her she'd hold it next to her head. She might get brain cancer in her brain too, right? Okay. And then you see these moms with the phones by their fetus, or I see these kids on the phone when they're not even, a couple years old. And then, like you were sharing with me, all these kids have really, really, really thin skulls. Like our skulls are a lot thicker, and then there's a higher water content in these kids' brains, which makes them more susceptible to more EMF. Negative effects of EMFs are particularly harmful to pregnant women, putting their child at risk for ADD and autism, as well as also the vaccines and everything else, as well as behavioral, emotional, social issues. Okay, 3 most important areas to mitigate your EMF, right? Your bedroom, number 1, because you spend 8 hours a day in there, right? At least I do, maybe even 9, because I read every night before bed now. But I got to stop reading those books that get me like that. I can't read that COVID-19 and the predators that are preying on us book. Maybe I'll read more of that Deepak Chopra meditation book. In your kitchen, where you eat, and then it's going to be in the carpeted garage where we're going to have the detox sauna and also the cold water immersion. Everybody's taking their cold showers, right? Who's taking their cold showers?
It was till it got really, really cold.
Go to Mammoth, dude. It's like so cold it feels hot. You know what I'm talking about when it's cold? That and a cup of coffee, I'm ready to go, man.
Last couple months broke me.
Did it?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. You're my hero. All right, so some of the things in addition to using wired connections for your phone and computers and strategies that may help reduce the harmful effects of EMFs include optimizing your levels of NRF2 boosting foods, like magnesium. So there's going to be some things up there that I probably wouldn't eat right now. I wouldn't do the broccoli. I do the berries. I do capers. I don't do the red onions. I do apples. I don't do tea. So you got to pick your poison, right? Isothiocinates, because that's one of the things that we talked about in the carnivore workshop, and that's where I learned that from Dr. Saldino in his book Carnivore Code, that those things are pro-inflammatory. So again, I break it down to this, Bastoni. Just eat food and stop eating crap. You're going to probably be healthy, whatever you do. I think most people, I just am kind of amazed at the food people eat. You know, like pizza. Maybe once in a while you eat pizza. I'm talking, unless it's healthy pizza. Is there healthy pizza, or is that an oxymoron?
There could be healthy pizza.
Okay. Try terpenoids and other terpenes found in cannabis, right? Probably found in a lot of essential oils in beans, apples, peppermint, oregano, and thyme. Sulfur compounds including sulfides and garlic. I haven't done any garlic lately either. Except there's garlic in that one detox capsule we're eating, right? Because I can always feel like I had garlic. Fish oils for those of us that eat fish. I don't eat any more chocolate. I'm still doing the blueberries, grapes. I don't do pistachios because it's a seed, right? And this right here, this is what was killing me. Right there!
Too much?
I was juicing that stuff. And that's probably the highest concentrated oxalate on the planet. Turmeric. Way up there with spinach.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was that Hollywood star that was doing all those spinach smoothies and he ended up getting kidney stones. Has anybody ever had kidney stones in here before? You had them, they're gnarly, huh?
Horrible.
I don't need spinach that bad. I would prefer a strawberry over spinach any day. What about you, Stoney? Would you rather have strawberry or spinach? Okay. You're quiet tonight. That's good though. Pomegranate peel. There's the selenium. Selenium supplementation ameliorates electromagnetic field-induced oxidative stress. So I just take a couple of those in the morning. I do the zinc in the morning, and then I'm doing the detox in the morning. Okay, thyroid dysfunction linked to mobile phones, because you put the phone right here, affects the thyroid. Probably causes a lot of your brain fog, right, folks? EMF has been found to alter TSH and thyroid hormones higher than normal TSH levels and low T4 and normal T3 in mobile users. Effects on the endocrine system as a sensitivity of the pineal, pituitary, adrenal, thyroid glands. Increase in RF exposure with trends with thyroid papillary cancer. So that's another thing. I have that on my desk, right? You guys have seen that on my desk. I take that every day with my prostate formula. Okay? Iodine, most important supplement to protect against the damage of radiation. Remember when the whole Fukushima thing was going off and all the iodine was gone? Does everybody remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Not here. We had a big supply of it for you guys. Support to thyroid. Thyroid ensures programmed cell death of damage and disease cells. Cancer cells shrink when given iodine. Helps remove heavy metals. See, that's good to it. Encourages electromagnetic radiation damage. It has a protective effect on brain tissue to properly utilize selenium, magnesium, and vitamin C. So they all synergistically work. I just do those drops, but you can get it from, if you use good salt, right? Like Redmond's or Celtic sea salt or any of that stuff. I salt the living daylights out of everything now. As much as you can salt. I guess strawberries have iodine in them too, but the fish does. But the fish has also got what?
Mercury.
Mercury and what else? All those microplastics.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day of all the plastic in the ocean. It was horrific, man. It's horrible. All right, then the magnesium. That's you're supposed to use, and I've been taking the magnesium threonate. You guys know about that?
Yep. For the brain.
It's good for your brain, right? And then I do the magnesium carbonate, citrate for the muscles, and then magnesium bicarbonate's good for relaxation and sleep. Susan, you okay back there?
Okay.
You need some coffee or anything? Okay.
You said
I'm gonna get up and do.
safe.
We
I'm
could do
just
some of those Zach Bush exercises real quick. You guys want to do those real quick? I don't know them well enough to teach you guys that. It worked though. All right, I'm almost done. Skip that one. Using your laptop plugged into its charger is worse for you than having it unplugged. Did you guys know that?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you got that right. So you want to get. He'll talk about that tonight too. We get rid of all the electrical devices in your room. I have one, I think, electrical device in my room, which is my lamp that I read with. It's hard to read without a lamp. And then I also have my diffuser in there. Okay, so but that's kind of a way because I always put frankincense in the diffuser because I heard that. Make sure you unplug your laptop from its charger while using it. Which means unplug it. It's better for the computer too, right? Everybody knows that. We don't need to cover that, do we? Okay, I don't understand. I don't understand the benefit of that over this. Does
Well,
anybody?
except for the fact they got rid of the headphone jack on cell phones. So you
That's what
have
they're
to-
doing?
Yeah, for a while now.
They don't have a headphone jack now?
Yeah, a
anymore?
lot of iPhones don't have a. They got
Well, I
rid
got
of
to get a new iPhone, huh?
Well, you can't get one.
When somebody stole my iPhone out of my office, the cops thought, "Oh, okay, that's a $1,300. That's a felony." They didn't realize that my cell phone was really old. It was probably worth about $100. You told them? I didn't know what it was worth. They got mad at me. Long story. Okay, if you do have a phone, I think this would be, if you do carry a phone around, which I don't, every once in a while I do, but I hate it. Just get yourself a Faraday bag. Right, Marcia? Yeah. You don't
I
have a
live
cell
on foil.
Huh?
I use an old coffee bag sometimes.
An old coffee bag?
Foil, just throw it in there.
Okay, there you go.
When I go buy
But those things are
sunflower
cheap
ash,
anyway.
I
I don't
get
know.
foil.
There was a lady that I was on a plane once when I used to travel a lot, and she had one of those that she was on. I don't even, that scares me right there. Is that the way it really looks, or is that just a joke?
It can look like that.
Mhm.
You set it up that way.
And then she had an iPad, and then she had a computer. She's like doing all, and a cell phone too.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Plus
Where
the
do you
AirPods.
get a Faraday bag?
Just
Get them online.
yeah, just put Faraday bag. They're like $10.
Amazon.
No, they're more than that.
No, they aren't. Do you want to look it up right now? How much? You bet you $10.
The one in my car is a lot more expensive. One of my phones in my car right now is a lot more expensive than that.
Smart. Everything's smart now. Like, what was so smart about the smart cars? Were they part of this whole thing too? Does anybody know those little cars? If you got hit in one of those things, you'd be trashed.
Only if you put your phone in the bag, you can't hear it ring.
That's true.
That's a blessing.
Pretend your phone's an old landline. When you go home, or
Right.
once in a while, check it, then
Pretend,
turn it off again.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, so everybody knows about these, right? This is a smart group. You don't want these by your bedroom, right? Marianne, you know what that is, right? Okay, there's the old digital ones that have the little numbers that would go around, right? So you got to look at it because these things give off huge amounts of EMF as well. Now, if you have this, you can call the electrical company, right? Electric company, right? And you can have them change it back.
And they'll do it,
And they'll
If
change
they
do
will.
it back. They'll charge you to do it,
Yeah.
but they'll do it.
and they'll charge you a monthly fee not to have it. But did we
How's
have?
it outside somewhere,
I
he
think I
says.
have one smart.
Yeah, as long as it's not by your bedroom. Like I know somebody that's got one right by their. What's that?
It's 90 feet away from us.
Okay.
Right.
You have Doug come in your house and measure to see if it's affecting you though, especially the bedroom, right, Doug? And we eat like in my house, everything's Ethernet cables, right?
Stuff comes out of that. What's that?
Everything's Ethernet cables at my house.
Gotta be.
It's got to be. Is that the way your house is too? Okay. I mean, I
You
used to
have
turn.
Wi-Fi,
When I had
don't you?
Wi-Fi, I used to turn it off all the time, and then I forget to turn it back on. So it's just as easy to plug that thing in. And then I have a landline with a cord. Does everybody have landlines at their house? Okay. You don't have a landline?
Doesn't fit in the bag.
Forever.
And I have landlines here. You guys know those are landlines up there. With
I have to say that ear part's got a really high magnetic field, though. Even if it's not plugged into the wall.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was on one of Orrin Miller's
Did you check
Zoom
mine?
meetings. I said, "Look at this! Look at my meter." 'Cause
Doug,
there's
did
a
you check my
magnet in there.
phone?
I did not.
We're going to do that.
But we
Well,
can
you
talk
should-
about it.
Okay.
it also-
We don't need to talk about
But
that,
it's
right?
not every one. It's
Okay, skip
particular
that.
ones.
And this is the paint that I used in my house.
Oh, it's.
So you
it's
paint the
magnet-
walls,
it's a
right?
magnet in it, that's right.
And if you live in an apartment or somewhere where you can't, well, you could paint your room. They wouldn't know, would they? At least paint your bedroom, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't really know.
Just as long as you paint it back over the black, right?
Yeah, but who leaves it black? I mean,
It looks pretty cool black. Yeah. It's like a full dungeon. Yeah, you got to paint it black, and then you got to prime it, and then you got to paint it. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it
Should
works.
we ground it?
Like
too?
that one. Yeah, you got to ground it too.
When you shut your Wi-Fi off, doesn't that mean that the next, when you turn it back on, you gotta reset all your clocks?
My clocks are all battery operated. Why are you
The
laughing?
wire. What about the microwave?
No.
The microwave? I don't have a microwave.
Not supposed to use a microwave.
What about my smart refrigerator that always tells me when the door's open, right? Your door's open.
Has to make a connection with that.
Okay, now Doug has way more sophisticated electronics than I do, so when he comes over to your house, he can check all that stuff for you and see where you're at, and see that what you can do to mitigate whatever high levels you got. Okay, my house was actually pretty good as far as electrical was, right?
yeah, it wasn't bad.
How about the magnetic fields?
Magnetic fields were great.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah, a little bit
cell
of
tower right outside
Cell
the window.
tower and a little bit of dirty electricity, but
Okay, you're going to talk about dirty electricity a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay. Don't everybody get excited about dirty electricity. It's not what you think. Okay. Now everybody has the EMF beanie, right? I have EMF beanies and EMF
that's what it should.
sleep mask. Okay, which I love. I love that thing. Okay, and I have a whole EMF suit in case I needed to don that thing in case they were nuking us all one day. All right, I think I'm done. Let's bring Doug up. Doug, that's not yours. That's not yours. That's not yours. That's not yours. I talked about that too. But we're not gonna do it. Is that you? Did I screw up your? Oh, you got your own.
I got my own thing. I'm just gonna
Oh, cool.
put a new video thing.
All right, let's give it up for Doug. Thanks, Mr. P.
What do you need me to do?
Just
You need
an HD TMI.
I know what you mean.
But if you can move that, I'll just sit down there.
Drop there.
It's this guy.
Billy, now that she's out, you forgot to say that popcorn is okay.
I will do that when in closing.
Would you please, cause I'm still getting.
It's not
popcorn
microwave
out.
popcorn though, is it?
Huh?
If it's, as long as it's not microwave popcorn.
No, I wouldn't microwave popcorn, that ruins it.
Well,
She's still
microwave.
telling me, you told her once it was okay,
I did tell her it's got good
you gotta do
fiber.
it again, she doesn't hear
Maybe,
things, she tells
can
us
you
3
sit down on
times.
top of that?
Yeah, you get out of the way. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I just,
You
unless
don't
you
need
wanna,
sound, do you?
unless you wanna stand there.
I do want to stand here. I'm going to sit next to Kurt because somebody's already sitting next to Pistone. So I'm gonna sit-
Okay. Well, you had a lot of new slides on your presentation. That looked great.
No, I didn't.
Well, from what I remember, I've got,
In fact, I deleted a bunch.
let's see, from the beginning. Ah, and you covered a lot of good stuff, so I don't have to do quite as much.
Sometimes I wonder.
Let me
It
turn
seems
my,
all like
my thing
common
on.
sense. Isn't it all common sense, kind of, sort of?
A lot of it is. Anybody been to one of these workshops before? A couple of you guys have, great. So a lot of people just don't like what I have to say because everything I suggest is not convenient, but convenience is not healthy.
Right.
So, you know, and this is one of the worst things you could do with a kid is give him one of these things, but anyway, I see all kinds of things and stuff. And, you know, just from seeing your slide with all of the EMF blocking material, I was just on a job in Hollywood, and the gal was living on the top floor, I think it was 4, 5, 6 stories, and she was worried about the cell antennas on top, and she specifically wanted me to go on the roof and take a measurement so she knew how high it was and she could tell the landlord, blah, blah, blah. So I go up there, as soon as I come through the door, my meter just goes, it's almost pegged. And so I get out there and I'm looking around and I'm not seeing anything. I'm seeing these little bitty dishes and they're the ones that communicate point to point. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and all of a sudden I see this track, this rectangular track, and I'm like, well, that looks like some serious power. And so I followed it, and it goes to these massive antennas that are blowing. It would be like hitting this building right next to us. It was just going straight into the people that were living over there. And once I got that close, my meter was just going off the charts. Anyway, the reason I say that is because I got sick the next day. I never felt that bad. I'm not electrically sensitive, but I was exposed to more than I should have, so I'm going to have to start wearing this kind of stuff to protect myself when I go up there. But anyway, so Billy already covered this. A lot of the diseases started showing up with the electrification of the world. This has been pretty well documented, and these are the standard characters that we're seeing: cancer, leukemia, lymphoma. The expansion of the power grid, they started seeing that, you know, people out in the suburbs, out in the farms and stuff, they weren't getting sick as much as people in the city. But it affects everybody differently. It's kind of like smoking doesn't kill everybody right away, just like this guy, Keith Richards, is still around. He's been smoking forever. But anyway, they call smoking, they call EMFs the new smoking.
Yep.
Anybody, have you guys heard that phrase at all? I know Marcia has. This is all going to be old hat for her. You know, this is something, Billy touches on this too. It makes sense to me, even when I first got into this, it's just, you know, we're electrical, our nervous system is kind of an electrical thing. It would make sense that when we're in an electric field, a magnetic field, or this radio stuff that's bombing us, that it's going to affect us in ways other than what the FCC says. You know, their chart for cell phone safety is, you know, it has to heat something so much before it's a problem. And it's like as if that's the only way it kills you. It's just so disingenuous. Anyway, so everyone's pretty familiar with our electric nervous system being
Yeah, they
important
are.
for various things. These are my normal heroes that I have. I was going to update this. I didn't have a chance to do this. I recommended the Dirty Electricity book to Billy. He said it was an easy read,
It's easy.
like below him. So,
No, it wasn't. I didn't say that. I
but
just-
there's just some interesting stories of, you know, cancer schools out in the desert, where they just had high incidences of these kids getting cancer, as well as some of the teachers, and it all had to do with a combination of dirty electricity and the local cell tower actually getting onto the electrical lines and combining with the dirty electricity. And the simple fix are these filters that we sell, and they basically take the noise and one design shunts it to ground, the other one, I think it dissipates it as heat or something, but if it gets high enough, it starts radiating out from the wires. And it affects different people differently. If you've got an autistic kid, they're likely to be more sensitive to this kind of stuff. So Dr. Samuel Milham was a pioneer in that. Martin Paul's work on voltage-gated calcium channels, that's kind of a mitochondrial kind of way that this stuff messes you up. And then Magda Havas, she's where I found out about PEMF therapies and stuff. She recommends them. You know, I'm going through building biology training, and EMFs are bad, EMFs are bad. And then all of a sudden I go to the Rose Lab and I'm looking at her research, and she's got the Beamer unit. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is an EMF unit, it's supposed to be bad, but it's controlled, it's a specific frequency, and it's a specific level, and it's the healthy frequencies. They're based on the Schumann, aren't they?
Yep.
Anyway, so that was kind of eye-opening for me. And then Deborah Davis, she's been with the Environmental Health Trust. They just won a big lawsuit, and basically the FCC can't rely on their BS 1996 standards anymore. They have to come up with something more up to date, because the way they were doing it was dishonest for one thing, but cell phone technology was very different in 1996, right? I mean, they didn't have the data that we do now. We didn't use
Wasn't it
them.
worse back then, though?
In some ways, I think, I don't know. They're still powerful today. But anyway, so we're excited about the win. We're excited that we've got some judges on our side, but they're going to drag their feet. It's not like they're going to just run out and come up with a new standard right away because we told them to, or because the judge told them to. Anyway, it's a win. We'll take it. So there is some progress being made, but we'll see. So getting back to Dr. Martin Paul on his 5G thing, and I want to talk about 5G, because 5G is you got to think of it as like a container, and it is a definition. It is enhanced 4G as well as the super fast millimeter wave 5G communication. And it's basically a sales BS job that they've done to everybody. So you see the commercials, and you can download a whole series of some show in like 30 seconds, and they're showing you the millimeter wave super fast part of 5G. But with 5G's definition, you're also getting what they call enhanced 4G, some repurposed other frequencies and stuff, because they're basically running out of room. So a lot of, like when Verizon was saying, oh, we've got 5G in all these different areas, it wasn't the super fast stuff. It was enhanced 4G that they had repackaged as 5G. You guys tracking with me so far? So, when people say, oh, I've got a 5G phone, it may not be millimeter bandwidth capable. They're coming out with them more and more, but the 5G at the millimeter bandwidth has problems. It doesn't go through walls like 4G does. Right. It's very temperamental, and it's line of sight, very much so, which is good for us health-wise, because it's more directional, and it's not always spraying like 4G or enhanced 4G is. Like those towers, they're just always spraying. It doesn't care who's got their cell phone on or not, but the millimeter bandwidth stuff has a seeker signal that's looking for a millimeter bandwidth phone, and when it sees one, the seeker signal is really low. It's really, you don't have to worry about that, but once it sees a phone and it's talking and it's like, oh hey, I want to talk, then the power ramps up and it's very directional. So if you're next to that person with a phone, then yeah, you're going to be getting zapped in the unique millimeter bandwidth way on top of the enhanced 4G. So when you see the super fast 5G, just remember you're getting enhanced 4G with it, which is always spraying.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So with the 5G, like you just said, if somebody's on a 5G phone, you could get zapped with it. Is there like a radius around a person on a 5G phone that they're affected? Or
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a number for what that is.
like if you sit 6
If
feet
you know,
away?
if you were 12 to 20 feet away, I'd say you'd be in a much better
But
situation.
6 feet away, you're probably
6 feet away, you're probably catching some of it.
Yeah,
If you're
one end
behind
of the
them, you're
couch
definitely catching
to
some of
the
it.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
So it's just another way they get you. So that was just the 5G definition I wanted to get out of the way and help you guys get on board with. So this is just more of how the RF aspect of EMFs affects you. You know, maybe we should go to the EMF definition. I don't know if I told you, I use your EMF name as a way to help people remember the 4 things that we measure. So if you can remember that we've all been EMF'd by this stuff, most of our lives actually. The E stands for electric fields, the M stands for the magnetic field, the F stands for the RF component, and then the D is the dirty electricity, or what I call a power quality measurement that we do. So EMF, that helps you remember all 4. So what we're talking about here is the RF part. And so the RF is all the wireless stuff, your cellular, your Wi-Fi, your microwave, your cordless phones. Cordless phones are awful. How many of you still have cordless phones? Like the wireless ones? They have a base station and they have little satellite ones. Okay, good. Those things are just as loud, if not louder, than routers, depending on the router. They're really bad. And then we've got radar, which is also in this RF category. So anyway, so Martin Paul's finding that the RF it's going to be attacking our nervous system. It's working on our endocrine system. It produces oxidative stress and free radical damage, which have central roles in essentially all chronic diseases. It attacks the DNA of our cells, producing single-strand and double-strand breaks in cellular DNA and oxidized bases. I mean, it's just a lot of scientific speak here. We've got elevated levels of apoptosis, basically programmed cell death, so it's early cell death. Got neurodegenerative diseases and infertility. Again, we're talking about fertility here. Produces excessive intracellular calcium and excessive calcium signaling. I think that gets back to the voltage-gated calcium channel thing that he was talking about. It attacks cells in our bodies to cause cancer. So there's a lot more than just heating you up. There's 1,000 ways to kill you. So anyway, yeah, the RF, we're talking about stuff that goes through the air. The other things, the magnetic fields. Uh-oh. What did I do? I hit the wrong button. I'm looking for my laser. There it is. Cool. So this here is a computer. It should be a router, because you can do Wi-Fi calling to a router, and that's another way that your cell phone can use the Wi-Fi. This thing here, these wires, I so regularly have to deal with the wires that are in the wall, like next to a sleeping area. You know, the areas that we look for are any place where you sleep, sit, or stand. So I'm real careful with people's workstations and whether they're using wireless keyboards or whether they're hardwired. I'm looking for how, the woolly-bully wire mess under their desk is laid out. I went to a guy's house and he was using flex tubing and all his wires in it. It was just the neatest desk I'd ever seen, and it measured well. And I'm like, man, if more people did that. But, anything that's plugged in, a lamp cord, a power cord, is going to emit an electric field. Anything with a motor, like a fan, hair dryer, is going to emit a magnetic field. Cooktops in your kitchen, like induction cooktops, throw huge magnetic fields. Those things should be outlawed. They're so bad. Electric stovetops are not quite as bad, but they still throw a pretty big electric field coming from them. So, most people don't even think about these other kinds of EMFs that are in just about everybody's house. But, getting back to the whole what's next to your bed idea, like Billy was talking about. If you've got lamps next to your bed, if you've got an alarm clock, if you've got a lava lamp, or you've got anything that's plugged in, a lot of people are charging their phones right next to their bed. I mean, we've got fields on top of fields on top of fields just right next to your bed. And you know, your bed should be a sleep sanctuary where your body's able to rebuild. You can get your melatonin levels up, and nothing's going to be inhibiting it, because this RF will mess with your melatonin.
So with my lamp, I should unplug it when I'm done using it.
So if it's if the closest part of the cable is 5 feet away, then you're probably okay. If your cable's closer, then you have other things you can do. There's these little switched outlets that we recommend. You can plug them into the wall.
Oh yeah.
And you plug your lamp into that, and you can either do the manual one, or you can get the ones with the remote. I have a client, I'm not sure if I have her photo in here, I don't think I put it in. She has a sleep number bed. How many of you have sleep number beds or beds that adjust? Anybody? So those things, if they're plugged in, are always emitting an electric field. And then where the motor is, you're going to get a magnetic field from that. And that's, as long as that outlet is hot and it's plugged in, you're going to be radiating yourself. So the gal that I did this remediation for was in Whittier. She was super sensitive. We had to go through her whole house. She went to their other house in Oregon while her husband and I went through and did all this. And we put a switch on the bed, and so it became less convenient but healthier. So when she's got to adjust the bed, because she has to have it because she's got an asthmatic kind of condition, so she's got to pick up the remote, turn the outlet on, adjust the bed, turn the outlet off, go back to sleep. It's not that bad,
No.
you know? But, you know, you put a meter on there, especially if it's got the audio going, I mean, you could hear it. It ramps up and it tells you, hey, you've got some electric fields going on, but then when that switch goes, it's nice, quiet. This all making sense?
Yep.
So far? All right. So through the air, RF, and then from wires, you've got magnetic fields, electric fields, and your power quality measurement, which is your dirty electricity.
So what makes electricity dirtier? Is it just the...
So I will get to that,
Okay.
but it has more to do with things that are on your electrical system plugged in. Pumps, inverters from solar systems, all your chargers, all your power supplies. They're all efficient, what they call switch mode power supplies. So they're switching power supplies. And that switching noise is what builds up and gets on the wires in your house. And the inverters on solar systems are really bad. They'll dump a huge amount. Pool pumps are really bad. I did an assessment for a guy in, where was he? He was out in the valley. That was Ventura is where it was. And his HVAC unit was the worst. I had my meter in and everything was nice and low. And I was happy for him. I was like, oh, you've got some pretty good low numbers here for your dirty electricity. And then his air conditioner turned on. And all of a sudden, my meter just went, and I'm like, what? So anyway, you never know which motor is going to do that. But that's dirty electricity. So here we're talking about RF still. We're talking about the neighborhood nonsense that they're bringing everywhere as far as the Internet of Things, these local Wi-Fi networks that they're putting in your neighborhood so that all these things can talk to each other. It's insulting. It just really drives me nuts. They don't know when to stop. So let's go back here. So smart meters, Ring doorbells, weather and air quality units. I mean, all of these can not only piggyback on these public networks that are out there, but like Ring doorbells have an option, I think it's called Sidewalk. And it is a free Wi-Fi that it comes with from the factory. Now, thank God that you can deselect the box and turn it off. But if you don't, then you're part of this Internet of Things, and you're just taking a slice of what you're paying for and you're donating it to the neighborhood. Anybody know that?
No.
So it's like, it's supposed to be a minuscule amount, and you're not supposed to notice it with your bandwidth. But anyway, so this is one way that they do that. So at least they give you the opt-out for now. I don't know if that's going to change. And
What's
the
a
weather
Ring doorbell? I don't even know what it is.
What's that?
A Ring doorbell.
Oh, it's those doorbells that have a camera on them,
Oh.
and they connect either with a hard wire, but usually they're Wi-Fi, because the wiring guys forget to what?
There's a big rainbow.
Oh, cool. Sorry, I thought
It's not
everybody
invisible.
knew what a Ring doorbell was.
I didn't.
I
don't have
shouldn't
one.
assume that. So anyway, yeah. So they're
Anybody else not
creating.
know what a Ring doorbell is? Am I the only one?
It's just you.
Just me.
Anyway,
I assumed what it was.
all right. You guys ready for the list of things that are
Yeah.
coming after you? Computer stations, excessive Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, unshielded Ethernet cables, unshielded power cables, smart TVs, everybody kind of probably knew that, smart appliances, smart lighting, they have light bulbs that you can program and control that are on Wi-Fi, smart HVAC, I mean you could do a lot of smart other things. Excessive wireless access point settings, that's the thing you were trying to think of that they distribute to get more Wi-Fi. That's
Right.
actually the term we want to use. Those things, that's the thing that makes the Wi-Fi in a router. It's called a wireless access point. A router is generally three things. It's a switch, it's a router, and it's a wireless access point. And sometimes it'll have the modem in, but usually it's just those three. And if you need more coverage, then you can get just a separate wireless access point and start putting them throughout your house. You just got to have a wire to run to it
Got it.
for power, or the Ethernet. You could do a mesh network, but the performance isn't as good as a hardwired connection, and you don't. Anyway, I understand why people want more, but we're trying to get everybody to hardwire and not do wireless. Streaming devices. I just did a job where the gal was really proud of herself because she hardwired her Apple TV, but her Wi-Fi was still on it. And she thought that as soon as she plugged it in, it would just automatically turn off, and it doesn't. So it's radiating, and she had no idea. And so I'm like, well, you know, got the cable on it, but you need to go in. Same thing with printers. Printers are really powerful, especially some of the bigger HPs, like Billy's got here. He's got a pretty big one over there. You hardwire it, you need to manually turn off the Wi-Fi, and that'll tone that measurement down in that area.
Why do you have the alarm clock on there? Or a watch? Is that a watch?
That's a watch.
Oh.
I think it's supposed to be a smartwatch.
Alexa?
I guess I should
That's a smartwatch.
have. I think it's a smartwatch. Anyway,
Yeah.
Alexa,
Who you talking
I
about?
busted Suzanne at Nirvana Wellness because she's got so many of those Alexas for
Oh, God.
the soothing music while you're doing your Beamer sessions.
Right.
And so I told her you need to put a cage around those things so they don't zap
Right.
your people while they're relaxing anyway. And then Apple Watches. Apple Watches are super powerful. They're just as powerful as a cell phone. I got a question. Okay, so how many of you have cell phones? How many of you have iDevice cell phones, like an Apple? Do you guys know how to turn all three wireless things off on your phone? Yeah. So if you hit airplane mode, it could just be the cellular that turns off, or it could be the cellular and the Wi-Fi, or it could be the cellular, the Wi-Fi, and the Bluetooth. Because you have all three. There's 3 radios in your phone. So the easy thing is just turn it off when you don't want to get sprayed. But
Oh.
airplane mode's easier, but you just got to make sure. You have a question?
Yeah, so I have meters that I've been testing for years. I'm really crazy about this stuff
Uh-huh.
too. But I noticed that years ago when I would put the phone on airplane mode, it wouldn't really read much. And now I don't know what they're doing, but it's reading like unsafe levels even on airplane mode with everything
Yeah.
that's off.
Now,
Do you know why?
but you have a newer phone now, right?
Yeah, not like the newest, but still
Yeah.
newer.
So that's part of what is going on. Mine has a tick that it didn't used to have, and I think it was a software update that changed it. But if my screen comes on, I can have all the radios off, but if my screen comes on, I start getting a tick, tick, tick. And if I'm taking a measurement and I want to take a picture or a video, I have this tick in the background of my video.
Yeah.
So, Marsha, are you
You
going to say
gotta
something?
remember to turn off the location services too, that's another one.
Yeah.
So that's the 4th thing to remember.
Ah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, so they're changing. So I have
Well, then when they
watches.
do updates too, they actually they stealth mode, like turn something on that you don't realize is on.
Yeah, you just have to
That's
stay on
constant.
top of it. I was on a job in LA, and they had their general contractor out there, and they wanted me to measure this house next door. They were thinking of moving next to it, but they said, "Hey, they're doing construction. We can go in there and get measurements." And I'm like, they're like, "Oh, just for a second, yeah." So I'm a good sport. So I go over there. I'm second job, and I'm taking measurements now. And I'm doing RF measurements, and the contractor comes up the stairs, and the closer he gets, my meter starts going up. And I had already asked everybody to put their phones in airplane mode. And he gets up, and I asked him, I said, "Can you put that in airplane mode?" And he's like, "I already did." And I'm like, he's like, "Nope, I listened, I heard you, and I did it." And I'm like, "Can I see your phone?" He's like, "Oh, sure." And yeah, the Bluetooth was still on. And so anyway, so we had a little lesson, and then he got it. So anyway, so I don't know if you guys know, I have over 22 years in the home automation, home theater industry. So all this stuff I used to do. I used to be a restaurant programmer, and design all this stuff. I don't know if you even knew that.
I knew that.
Okay.
Delkey, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did it on I had my own company before I worked for Eric. I actually left the industry, and Eric said if I ever get back into it, give him a call. So that's how I wound up with Eric.
Trying to figure out this video.
So anyway, this is just showing, what people do with their home automation. They got cameras and dad's watching stuff at home, but they're getting lazy with their pre-wires. The newer houses don't have all the cables that they used to, because they know they can do a lot of things wirelessly. So your security can be having a lot of wireless. Your dimmers are another bad thing, especially if they're wireless, because then you get two strikes. You've got RF and you've got dirty electricity. Dimmers are a huge contributor. Not those dimmers. There's other ones that are the automated ones that don't have sliders. So wireless thermostats, wireless access points and routers, security system pools, pool control. They never run a wire to the pool control. I don't know why. There's so many houses. It's like, guys, it's always more robust when you've got a hardwired connection. You don't have interference. You don't have any of that stuff. So how many of you guys have a home office or a place where you do that kind of stuff? I find a lot of high electric fields from keyboards and RF from wireless devices, things that don't need to be on. Lots of chargers. These are the different frequencies, the different things. Oh yeah, I've got a pointer. So down here is where your cordless, no, I thought that was higher. Oh, this is old school telephone. You got TVs, cell phones, you're getting up here into the microwaves. This has always bothered me where it's like, okay, this is ionizing and this is non-ionizing. Like that wall is some sort of safeguard of anything. I think I've always been suspect of this stuff. Like, if this will mess you up, I think we should be careful with this. Anyway, this is just me. But speaking of microwaves, I usually do something with my clients. I'll have them put a cup of water in the microwave, and I'll get my RF meter out, and then I'll put it on for 30 seconds. And I will walk away from the microwave until it's safe. And it usually winds up being about 30 to 40 feet. They all leak. They all leak, whether they're brand new, whether it's super bitchin' German thing, or whether it's an old Panasonic. They're awful.
But it destroys the food too.
There's that, yeah. It messes with the molecules or something.
Right.
Anyway, so these are just the 5 different groups there. So I wanted to show you some of my projects that I've been on. So this is a house in Costa Mesa. Do you guys see how close this cell tower array is? So I get there, I get my meters out, and she's got little play toys for the kids in the backyard and the side yard, and she wanted to make sure that it was safe for the kids outside. There was not a place on the property that was safe for anybody, let alone the kids. Then I went inside, and it was just as high, just about. It wasn't as high, but it was still ridiculously high. At the Building Biology Institute, we have our own chart based on 20 years of studies that are very different than what the FCC uses, and they're very conservative. But it's for sleeping areas and for areas that you frequent a lot. There was not a place in this house that wasn't in the extreme concern range. That's like the highest range that we have. So it was really sad. So I told the gal, I said, look, this is so bad. You know, I'm going to advise you guys to move. I'm not even going to recommend any kind of remediation because you can't go anywhere in the yard, and you're going to have to insulate in the attic as well as your exterior walls. And she's like, well, we're moving. And I said, well, this is the kind of stuff where people get like leukemia and lymphoma. And she goes, my husband has lymphoma. And I'm like, oh dang. And they, you know, they had me measure their next house that was being built. And that was a dream. It was very different, but he's already got lymphoma. So it was really sad. So that, you know, this is serious stuff. This isn't just ringing in the ear. I mean, this stuff will kill you.
Right.
So here's another one. Oh, this is the tower by Billy's house.
Yes.
This is the one that you see, and that's a healthy.
That's a tree.
That's a healthy array.
It's a plastic tree.
You know, you got the tower, and you have these antennas, and that's a lot packed in there. You know, the good thing Billy's got going for him is that he's got a lot of things in the way. He's got trees,
Yep.
he's got other buildings, and so it's more the upstairs bedroom, in this one particular bedroom where it comes through the most. Gets a little bit in the backyard, and the downstairs he gets some, but it's nothing like the upstairs. So
That's not my backyard, though.
no. This is
I won't
a
take
commercial.
credit for
This is Newport Boulevard.
Oh, that
actually.
over there.
This over here is a different project. This is a guy that's been living here for 13 years in Whittier,
Shittier.
and out of the blue,
Looking.
they decide they're going to put this tower up. And it's like, he's like, I want a before and after measurement. And I'm like, and I hadn't seen this picture. He's just telling me, you know, I got to have you out here right away. I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. So I was going to go out on Monday, and then he sends me this picture. He's like, you know, do you think it's even worth it? And I'm like, no. The only thing he could do is put his own telephone pole here and put a freaking billboard in front of it and fight back that way.
Yep.
And I don't know if you got to pull a permit for that kind of thing, but I mean, if I'd been there 12, 13 years, I think he said, and I could swing it, I would do something like that. I mean, that's just,
What about just chop the tower down? Like they did with the bulldozers and.
I saw
Yeah,
a
I
clip
mean,
last
that-
night in
great,
England where they
you know?
took out
I
a saw
just-
out in the middle of the night with the surveillance cameras and the same kind of a thing. They just for those 15-minute cities.
Yeah.
They
we
started.
could put our, what's that mask that you have with the little, put our masks on and go and
Oh, the
get a grinder.
gas mask?
No, what is that called?
Oh, the,
COVID is a scam?
Yeah,
Those
there's
masks.
a name for that
the
mask.
V from Vendetta mask.
That guy, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, V for Vendetta.
Okay, so what's wrong with this house here? Anybody?
The wires?
The electricity.
Yeah. So this is the difference between the distribution lines like this and transmission lines. These carry a lot more voltage. They throw bigger fields. These are hit and miss. I've been right underneath some of these and they cancel so well that you get hardly anything underneath. I've had other ones that just carry for, you know, a good 20 feet. So these people here had like 5 milligauss here at this railing at the time I was there. If I would measure at like 5 o'clock, I guarantee you it would be higher because there's more usage. But it died pretty quickly as we went back into the house. So I'm still not happy about this, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. This, however, so this was 5 milligauss. We're trying to stay under 1 milligauss for sleeping areas. Her bedroom is here, and she was at 8 milligauss. And it didn't get, well, in the garage over here, it got to 2.5 milligauss. She's got a dog shed over here, and in the dog shed, it got down to like 1.5. And so I said, you know, if you have to stay here, which she's hell-bent on staying here, I'm like, you know, you should move your bedroom to the dog shed, because it was, you know, it's like another garage. It's actually really nice. It's air conditioned, I think. Well, it looked like it might have been. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, but she's like, well, no, because I like having my bathroom there. And I mean, I get that, master bed, master bath. But she's a health nut, and she's been doing all kinds of, you know, therapies and stuff. She's going to be getting a Beamer. So if she hadn't been doing all of this stuff, I think she would be sick already. If she'd been here for.
But can't you shield for that electrical at all?
Yeah, but okay. So magnetic fields are the hardest to shield, and the material that you use for it is hideously expensive. You have to do double layers, and then even then, you'll like they have efficiency measurements, right?
Yeah.
But it's hit and miss because of the nature of magnetic fields. It's like, some electric fields will radiate out like a lightning bolt, where magnetic fields are circular. And so as they curve and go through the material, depending on how they hit the material will work better depending on the angle. So
Wow.
it's
What if you just cut the wires?
yeah, and then you get a perm.
An electric.
Then you get a permanent.
Yeah.
Or you just pay somebody to do it?
Yeah.
Over at U-Haul?
Okay, then you got no power. So anyway, these things. So anyway, so her whole property, indoors and outdoors, she's got a garden in the back, and it's really sad. Really sad.
Do you
But at
think
least
that any of this could affect even plant growth? I mean, obviously it can to some degree.
yeah,
You notice that?
I know the RF is easier to see with plants than the magnetic and electric fields, but animals will start getting affected from the magnetic fields. I did an assessment out in Apple Valley at a wolf sanctuary. They had like 6 wolves die from cancer over a period of years, and they thought it was because there's a solar panel farm nearby, and they thought maybe something was connected. Anyway,
You gonna talk about solar panels at all?
we do coming up.
Okay.
Do I have time?
Yeah, we got time.
7, okay. So anyway, yeah, their measurements at the wolf place actually wound up being pretty low. So I don't know what was affecting them. This is another one I did. It was a pre-purchase, and I found a wiring error, which is throwing a huge magnetic field. A lot of times you'll have a switch bank like that over there, and if you've got a switched outlet as well as some lights, and the electrician is lazy and he just ties all the neutrals together, it will work. But there is not the cancellation you're supposed to be getting when the breaker feed load path is changed, because the current's supposed to come this way and the same amount of current is supposed to go back, and it cancels, and so you have reasonable magnetic fields from where the wires are. But when you change that, the current doesn't always go back where it's supposed to. Sometimes it goes down the other feed to the other breaker. It'll do that and it'll work, but now you don't have the cancellation on that wire. So you get 12.82 milligauss on the floor to this bathroom right where this door is. It's so big, when I go downstairs into the nook, I can measure it with my meter. So anyone that's sitting at that table with the nook is getting whatever it is. So anyway, these are some of the things that I find. So it's not all just Wi-Fi and stuff. I mean, these are pretty common. Orem Miller is one of our instructors at the Building Biology Institute. He says 50% of the houses he goes to, he finds this kind of error. I just couldn't believe that at first. It just seems too high. But inspectors aren't looking for that kind of stuff. They're looking for bigger problems, I guess. And anyway, so it's pretty common to find this. It's not that big a deal in a doorway like this, but if this was like next to a baby crib, it would be awful. You would not want a kid or anybody sleeping in that kind of a huge magnetic field.
Yeah, how many people don't know that? That's the scary
we're
part.
trying to stay under 1 milligauss for this. We're trying to stay under 1.5 volts for electric fields.
Oh, here we go.
So, solar panels. So we're, okay, so the building biology group, I have a couple different Zoom meetings that I go to pretty regularly. And there are some that just hate solar and they want nothing to do with it, and it's evil, it's the devil, blah, blah, blah. And then there are those of us that I think understand it maybe a little better, because it's not the panels, it's not the wiring to the panels, it's the inverters. It's the thing that makes it change from DC to AC that creates all the dirty electricity, unless you have one made by a manufacturer that does a good job, and it's a less of an issue. So Fronius and Enphase are two solar companies that have low dirty electricity inverters in their systems, and some of the guys from the Building Biology Institute actually have those. So
is that the only?
those are the
concern?
only two I know of for sure right now.
No, but that's the only concern you have with solar is the dirty.
As far as dirty electricity, the other thing is their controller. So if you're tied to the grid and you're doing that route and you don't own your own system, so the company that you're working with, the system reports to them. And they're real persnickety about reporting. So, we always recommend a hardwired network connection, but they want their backup. And usually they want a Wi-Fi backup and a cellular backup. I mean, they want it all, and it's like, that's unnecessary. So it's a fight, but that's the other thing, because their radios for cell are powerful. So we're usually having on new builds, it's like, look, if they won't work with you, find a different company. If they can't get a different company, then it's like, put their radio on the complete opposite side of where you're sleeping. So these are the kind of planning shenanigans that we do. So it's two things with solar systems. It's the dirty electricity and it's the RF component with their backup reporting system. If they could just have the one line and be happy, then that would be great. I mean, my recommendation is buy the system yourself or build it yourself and don't have to be dealing with these people. So the inverters, the reporting system, the RF controller. Some of the other things, we talked earlier about the switch mode power supplies that we're forced to use now. They all switch. So these pool pumps that you have to put in California now create huge amounts of dirty electricity. You can buy the old school ones, but it's like illegal in California for someone to put them in. So you find a pool electrician guy that you can have him put one of the old school ones in. It's kind of like incandescent light bulbs. They're illegal in California too, but they're clean. They're way cleaner than the LEDs or the compact fluorescent bulbs.
So the light bulbs I have in my house are good. Those halogens were good. Didn't you say something about?
I think they were LEDs. They weren't.
No, they aren't. They're halogens.
They're halogens? The halogens aren't a problem. You don't have any of the curlicues, right?
No.
I don't think so. So here's an example of one of the solar controllers that spews. This one was, I could pick this one up at the street, outside, the garage closed and everything. This was the loudest thing. I mean, they're real serious about their reporting, so
Wow.
it's one of the things that we look at here. So here's kind of another example. We've got RF on the smart meter, we've got all these chargers. These are the light bulbs you don't want.
Yep.
You need to get rid of those. Dimmers, all these chargers, and basically anything with a power supply.
So you're seeing those dimmers over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think those are the worst, but they probably throw a bit. I'd have to measure it. Dimmers. Oh, this was funny. Okay, so this is Huntington Harbor, right? I'm out there, and I get next to these lights, and they're throwing huge electric fields. Who would have thought Christmas lights would have huge electric fields? So this table here was nuts. It was so bad when these things were on. It's beautiful, and at night it's even prettier. But anyway, so just being careful with what we surround ourselves with. So just kind of a review here. Just all the excessive RF and Wi-Fi is one layer in the toxic soup. All the electric fields coming from everything that's plugged in, the power cords and everything, if you're close to those, then you're exposed to that. Magnetic fields, some people like having that fan right next to them at night when they go to sleep. Got to be like 5-6 feet away at least.
Okay.
All the dirty electricity from all the things that we just talked about. So this is what we do. This is my arsenal of meters. I'm having a brain fade there. That's what we do. We come in and we give you an idea of what you're exposed to. We give you a roadmap of how bad things are. We give you a list of solutions. And the kind of a priority list as well, what we think is more important. And a lot of the stuff is free, you know. Unplug it, move it to the other side of the bed. Or just take this thing and make it go away and never bring it back. It just depends. Other things like the wiring errors that we showed you, you would want to get an electrician in, put a piece of tape on it for him so he knows what bank of, you know, if it's the switches, he knows which ones to look for. And we just basically try and get all the levels down to where you're in a healthier environment. So this is an example of what I give. These are handwritten when I'm at the property, taking measurements, and then I go back, I do a report. And these are the severity colors. You can kind of see we go from green to yellow to orange to kind of a red. And so they've got a lot of problems with their RF in this particular house. This is a sad developer project in Riverside County. This area right here where my thing is, this round thing, that is a cell tower. And they're building brand new houses around the cell tower. And I just, the general contractor that was, or the developer that was there, he was nice enough to me, but he knew he wasn't going to be in agreement regardless of what I said. And I just said, you know, yeah, I basically told my customer and him, I said, you could not pay me to live here. And he's like, yeah, okay, well, that's your opinion. Of course. Anyway, so here's some of the remediation.
Where's that located in Riverside? Where's that?
Corona.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, city of Corona, actually.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember the exit. Sorry, I got nothing. Shielding paint, put it on the walls, works great. You do not have to ground this stuff, but you will get better shielding if it's grounded. If you want to shield for electric fields, then you definitely need to ground it. But for RF, for all your Wi-Fi stuff, you can get a real good amount without grounding it. But grounding it gets
But
you.
why wouldn't you ground it?
Because it's more expensive, it's more involved, and some people are lazy.
It's not that much more involved.
Well, you're a smart guy. I mean, you know, some people are just like, oh, they get overwhelmed. Some people can barely, you know, buy the paint.
Okay,
They're on tight budgets. This is some of the shielding foil. A lot of times, we'll put this on the back of a headboard because of the wiring in the wall behind the headboard is throwing a bigger electric field than we like. So, you know, these are, you could try using aluminum foil like Reynolds Wrap, but this is commercial grade stuff. It's thicker and it has better shielding properties. I mean, I've done the experiments. Reynolds Wrap, you got to go 3 layers before you start seeing anything serious. It will help though.
Heavy duty.
Yeah, basically.
That's what I said.
The EMF safe switch is something that people have really been liking. So if you've got an area, and it's usually on the second floor, you've got a master bedroom, you've got wires in the floor, you've got wires in the sidewalls, you've got wires overhead. And to get the electric fields down, sometimes they just don't think about how they're running these wires and they have stuff right around the bed. So you can move everything away, but it's just the wires that are in the building that are elevating things. So what this does is your electrician installs this at your breaker panel, and we determine which breakers need to be turned off for the master bedroom or whatever bedroom it is, and they give you a remote so that when you go to bed at night, you hit that and it's just, and you could almost, I'm sure electrically sensitive people can really feel it, but it's just a calm environment when the breakers are off. There's nothing. There's no magnetic fields. There's no electric fields, and there's no dirty electricity messing with you at all. And whatever you got plugged in, that could be radiating, like your Alexa or whatever. If that's off, then there's no RF either. So you're actually getting all 4. It's an investment, but people that are really serious about their health are really liking that. And then these are the dirty electricity filters that I use most of the time. There's another one by Stetzer that I will also use. And then for real stubborn, specific installations, there's whole house ones. You know, these are pretty inexpensive, close to $35-40 each. some of the
How many of those did you put in my house? Like 3?
no, it was 6 to 8 from
Was
memory,
it?
something like that.
I don't see them anywhere, so
Yeah,
you did a
yeah.
good job.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole house ones will be a couple grand. So I start with these because we get really good results with these. And they have a courtesy outlet on the bottom, so when they're plugged in, you can still use them. And whatever you plug in is filtered. So you got your shielding paint, your shielding foil, the safe switch, and the filters. I'm trying to find a guy, like a handyman guy, that will work with me, can help me start doing some of this stuff, because I'm not a painter, and anyway, I'm working on expanding my network. I've got a couple electricians that I use, and got a couple plumbers. I haven't had to use them ever past 3.5 years, but if you've got undesirable current coming in on your water line, one of the remediation steps is to put a section of PVC in that to break that. And there's a certain way to do it because you have to have a certain amount for ground, but a lot of what gets into people's houses is coming from the neighborhood, from your neighbors.
Right.
So anyway, here's an example of shielding beforehand. This is an example that they put a cell tower in the lot next door was a commercial lot, and I can't remember what the business was, but they put cell tower really close, so he just went nuts.
Is that better than the paint?
It depends on how it's installed. It's just as good as the paint.
Okay. Well, I think that would be better than the paint.
Yeah,
And then you can also get the windows tinted too.
Yep.
Which we've.
Yeah, he did that too.
Yeah.
Now this stuff is perforated, so you don't have moisture issues, because putting Reynolds wrap in the wall will give you mold issues, and so we kind of thought this through. And so this is kind of just a visual example of turning the breakers off. This is what you're exposed to before. This is afterwards. And we lived happily ever.
Is there any way you could put a switch in your bedroom where you don't have to go to the garage and turn that shit off?
It's a remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, the remote is meant to reach.
$2,000 though.
What's $2,000?
I thought you said it was $2,000 to have that whole. That was with the wiring and everything too.
Yeah, it's a panel. It's the breakers. The relays, and the remote as well. So it starts at about $1,400.
Okay.
And then,
But you could just go turn them off manually. You wouldn't have to pay the $1,400.
yeah, you don't want to use breakers like switches.
Oh.
They're not designed to be that way, and people have started fires
Okay. We don't want that.
unintentionally, so we don't recommend that. This is the dirty electricity measurements at Dr. Billy's. Kind of got a before and after. The little caterpillar noise there is what we were getting. You see these spikes here?
Yeah.
The red spikes, I should say. And then down here is after, and this is only like 1 or 2 filters. This isn't after putting all of them in. But anyway, we got some really good results. The little caterpillar kind of went away. I don't break out my oscilloscope very often, but I wanted to do this. And so these are the green wave filters that I mentioned earlier. Things to help you heal from being exposed. You guys are probably all familiar with the Beamer technology and what it does. Available at Nirvana Wellness and
Wellness.
DeMoss. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
With
So this is what we're all about: creating a healthy sleep sanctuary, healing and repair, deeper sleep,